Hello, Finbar.
Hello, Alan.
We are very happy to be here in your studio today. Thank you for your hospitality.
You're very welcome.
People often invite you to their events, celebrations. This is your profession. And I would like to ask you, how would you describe this internal state of the feast?
That's a big question, isn't it? The internal state of the feast. It's the people that make it rather than the event. You know, the banner of the event. You know, let's have a happy party on a Friday night, and people come and they bring their life with them. And I can't, in my experience, it's not that simple that there is a happiest event. You know, you would think maybe a christening or a wedding, or I can't say it's my experience that it's like that. It depends on the people.
It doesn't depend on any external circumstances. It's just something which is within you.
Well, I think that's exactly it. It's like what's in the people at the feast. You know, who gathered them, why, what's their connection. I can never tell. I can never tell what it's going to be. I just can never tell. I go into rooms and I look at groups of people in environments and I think, oh, this will be lovely or this will be challenging. And I'm frequently completely wrong. And what I try and do is trying to stay in myself. I try and, well, how do I feel? And I try to keep my own composure, regardless of what's in the room. No, not regardless. With regard to what's in the room. So, and it's easy when they're happy. It's easy when people are happy.
What helps you to maintain your inner well-being?
Me time. I come down here, you see my little house in there, it's a full busy house. I can come down here and just breathe. I do yoga, not much, but I do a bit of yoga. I go for a spin on the bike on my own, or I go for a walk on my own, or me time. I find just, and in it, I become aware of my feelings, how I'm feeling about how I'm feeling, and then I can question what it's about. Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I angry? Where am I? You know, how do I feel? And by being on my own, I can locate the feelings and I can connect with them and I can understand them and put them in their proper place. So being on my own, I find this really helpful.
I really love your song, I Can Fly. Your song there about conscience, about wisdom, about freedom, and about that every person has the right to choose. And just interesting, what inspired you to write this song?
That song, I was in Argentina. I went to Argentina to be on my own. I was living in Belgium at the time and I just wanted to go somewhere. And I went to Argentina, and when I booked it, I had lots of money and I booked for 6 weeks. And but by the time I got on the plane a month later, I'd had to spend all my money, and I had $100 when I got off the plane. And the very day I got off the plane, the dollar was devalued, so it was 100 pesos, and I had to live for 6 weeks. And so I was busking on the street. I was living in a little in a room in. It was pretty rough now, you know. It was just like basic stuff, and there was bars on the window of the room, and I can't remember what the book I was reading, but there was a quote in there from a guy called Charles Beard, and he said, when the skies go dark, the stars begin to shine. When the skies go dark, the stars begin to shine. And it just clicked. I had been, I was actually completely broke. I just spent my last kind of 2.5 pesos on a breakfast. I said, I'm going to have breakfast today, a nice one. And I went and got coffee and a croissant. And I was walking back, and I had about 50 cents left. And I was walking back to my room, and I saw a guy sleeping on the street, you know, destitute, with nothing, asleep in a heap in the doorway. And I gave him my change. I just said I'd be okay. And I went back to the room, I read the thing, and I just wrote the song. It just came. I'm locked behind bars, but I'm not in prison. I'm locked behind bars to stop them getting in. And that's how it felt. I was locking myself away from the world to try and make sense of what I was living in. And actually it was the day before 9/11. It was, and I woke up the next day and 9/11 happened, and I was like, oh my God, that's really weird. Because it was, you know, there's bad stuff coming. I just felt bad stuff coming. And, but we all have the choice. We all have the choice to be what we want, and we are what we want. And people say, oh, I didn't have a choice, I had to do this, I had to do that. You always have a choice. It may seem like not, or you may be cold-hearted, or you may not like the choice, but there is a choice. And that's what I was connected with, I think, you know. But the very fundamental part of human nature is, unless you're disabled in some way, you can run, you can walk, you can sing, you can talk. You can't physically fly like a bird, but you can metaphorically fly like a bird because you are free. You're free in your head, and that's where it came from.
And which is true freedom for you?
The freedom to be able to find my own thoughts, my own voice, regardless of what's going on, to be able to think, well, what do I think? I know what all the world is saying, but I don't agree with it. I may have to go along with it, but in my head and in my heart, I know that's not the case. And that ability to discern what's happening and to process it with my values, with my personal, not the values that were given to me, but my own values. How do I feel? What do I think? I think that's freedom. You know, we're all caught in society, whatever society. In Ireland here, we're very lucky. It's a tolerant society and it's quite open. But I've been in dark places where it's not cool to speak, it's not cool to have opinions, it's not safe to have opinions. So you just shut your mouth and live inside, you know. Keep your freedom, keep my freedom.
Nowadays, the society is dominated mainly by material values. Money, power, cars, houses. And in your opinion, what values should people be guided by?
I think compassion for others. And it's hard to be compassionate, you know. But I think we get caught in our own bubble, you know. There was I read of a survey recently, and it said that they studied a pedestrian crossing in America. They looked at the vehicles, you know, that were passing by and the people crossing, and the instances of people crossing and vehicles not stopping. Well, the vehicles that didn't stop were vehicles of very rich people. And vehicles that did stop were vehicles of very poor people. And I'm not exactly sure what it says, but there's something to do with a lack of compassion and a feeling of, well, I don't have to stop. So I would say a little bit less self-righteousness and self-aggrandizement. You know, well, I'm special. I don't have to stop. And who are they anyway? Why should I stop? And it probably comes down to compassion, you know. I'd love to see a bit more acceptance and humanity.
In your opinion, how important is it for an artist or for any public person to understand their responsibility for the meaning of the content they project out to people?
It's very important for artists, for anybody. Artists are just the people in society who express things. We won't feel them. But artists have the means and the ability and the talent to put them into a form that other people can digest. So what do you want to create? Do you want to create a reflection of darkness and misery, or do you want to create a reflection of hope and peace and good stuff? And if you want to do the good stuff, for me, I would say, to do the good stuff, I need to tune out of the bad stuff. So I guess ALLATRA television and the idea of giving people content, positive content, considered content, well, it's got to be helpful, isn't it?
That's the idea. What we are concentrating on that is growing, and what we pay attention to, which is growing. So we decided to unite and to create something that would show good examples for people, that would resonate with their souls and motivate them for good deeds.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing. And if you keep on giving people good things to think about and look at, well, it can only be a good thing.
Somebody has to start, because the system creates the slaves to manipulate them, to dictate what is profitable for just a small amount of people.
You know, since I spoke to you last week, a thought that's gone through my head over and over is Mr. Freud, Sigmund Freud, who was he got a lot of things right and he got a lot of things wrong. He was a pioneer, and he's much criticized, but he also, if you read his body of work, got a lot of things so right. And one of the things he spoke of are introjected belief systems. And that's where we take on board the values of our surroundings, and we disregard our own beliefs, our own values. So we're told, you know, black is good, red is bad. We're in, black. But yet, you know, I kind of like red. Oh, but that's bad to like red. I have to like black because black is where it's at. Red's bad, you know. So within us, we have this disconnect that we can't like the thing that we feel is nice, and we have to like this thing that everybody says is nice. And I think we have to find our own value and meaning. And it's not singular, it's varied. You had a post on Facebook the other day that a woman's role in life is to support a man, and a man's role is to support a woman. I would disagree with it. I would think we're much broader than that. I think we have much more going on than to be singularly orientated. you know. Maybe we could say a thing that gives a person pleasure is to support another person in their being and in their doing, but also that they have their own being and doing as well, which is meaningful to them. You know.
You have own connection with something higher.
Yeah, yeah. And you can connect in different ways. You know, it's not singular, but I think that inner connection to what it is, how to, if you examine how you feel and then question the feelings, you know, that's where it's at. It's not singular. And just because everybody says something is the case, it doesn't mean it's the case. And one other thing this morning is we were talking about microphones here. We were talking about, you know, recording equipment, and you said that somebody said that green screen, that. I remember hearing years ago that technically, aerodynamically speaking, and this is a fact now, okay? Aerodynamically speaking, a bumblebee cannot fly. It's impossible for a bumblebee to fly. The body is too big, it's the wrong shape, the wings are too small, and they're not strong enough. He cannot fly. But the bumblebee doesn't know that, he just flies. And I think we should all be like bumblebees and just fly.
In your poetry, you often refer to a woman. You praise the female nature. And what is the primordial essence of the female nature for you?
That's funny. Two women in the room and you're asking a man what's the primordial essence of the female nature. There's an ancient Chinese text called the I Ching, and it's an oracle looking at the future and looking at things. And the symbol for a man is, I believe, a mountain, and the symbol for a woman is a river washing over a mountain. And they kind of nailed it with that 5,000 years ago, or whenever they wrote the I Ching, thousands of years ago it was written. A river running over a mountain. And I find that female nature much more patient, much more feeling based, orientated. I mean, you're very much orientated to your feelings, how you feel in a moment. I mean, females make the world beautiful. If it was down to men, it'd be pretty grey. The world would be pretty grey. I find that as a man, to orientate myself toward females and to look at a woman and think, well, look, you know, you always have adornments, you know, earrings or hair clip or a brooch or a lipstick or shoes or maybe a combination. Every day, like I find that women compose themselves. Like a man will put on whatever, you know. We wear clothes for functionality. You wear clothes and more than clothes, you're much more composed visually. And the visual composition is a reflection of the emotional state. So the primordial nature is that you're aware of your emotional state far more. Maybe it's unconscious. Maybe the outfit that you're wearing today is unconsciously to make you feel stronger, or because you feel sad, or because you're I don't know, not going on a date, because that tends to be very conscious. But I would think the connections with your feelings, and as a man to connect with a woman on an emotional level, it's really good, because it helps me as a man to connect with my emotional state. And the world would be just grim without females.
What is true love for you?
True love. I wouldn't say I was a Christian. I don't really believe in any of the religions. But Jesus, I've read quite a bit of them, and I would value the teachings very highly. And Jesus said, love your neighbour as yourself. So in that there's a lot. But first of all, you love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, how can you love your neighbour? So you got problems with your neighbour, really the problems are with yourself. And true love has to come from within. You have to know yourself, you know. It's tricky. It's a tricky world we live in.
Nowadays we live in a consumer society. And what is your attitude of this vector of development of our civilization?
I have 5 guitars in this room.
You're
You
a
know.
musician.
I have keyboards. You've got 2 cameras. We have 6 microphones between us. There's a stereo over there. There's stuff, you know. Yeah, but look, this microphone will make me even better, you know. I'm good, but this one is going to make me, but I want this one. I don't care about it.
Really make, does it really make you?
No, it doesn't. No, but you believe the bullshit that it's
Yeah.
going to make you better, you know. It absolutely doesn't. And look, we're caught in a bubble, you know. It's hard not to consume. It's really hard not to do it. Well, let's try and be a little bit more conscious, and let's try and make it a little bit more sustainable and less harmful. You know, a friend of mine has a saying, well, it's less worser. You know, let's make it less worser, because it's like pretty bad.
What can everyone do to make this world more joyful, more loving, more happy?
Pick a flower. Look at the sky. Look at a tree. Look at a smile. Smile. You know, laugh at yourself. Just little things. Help somebody. Go out of your way and help somebody. You know, listen to somebody. It's not the big things. It's the little things. It's the all day, everyday things. Be a little bit more kind, a little bit more patient. Appreciate a little bit more your environment. I think we can all do that. We don't have to be anything special. There's no big answers, really. The answers are all small.
But it's true. Everything starts with one person, with your own choice.
Everything starts with your own choice, and you're choosing all the time.
Exactly.
There's another song, Happy Days, that I did, and it says, every day we choose, we win or lose, we laugh or cry, we live our happy days. You know. And the last line is, every day is a happy day if you want. Now, I have plenty of sad days, I have plenty of angry days, I have plenty of frustrated days, but I have plenty of happy days too. And I can be in the middle of sadness or grief or anger or frustration, and then I can catch myself and I can be like, yeah, got caught again. You did it again. Come out of there. Come out now. Come on. happy day now, you remember. And it helps, you know.
I see the Christian icon.
Yeah, I
How-
found it somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I have another one in the house. And I put her up over the bed. I like things like that. I like things like that appeal to me, you know. It's a beautiful image. A mother with a baby and a couple of angels overhead, you know.
Which is interesting in your studio here, we can see Christian icon, we can see probably Celtic writing,
Yeah.
and at the same time
Angels.
image of Krishna and Arjuna from Hindu religion.
And Buddha.
And Buddha, exactly.
And a cowboy with a gun. And the cowboy's name was Coady. His name is Coady, which is my name. We're everything, aren't we? You know. But we can be everything without being horrible to other people, you know. I don't have to be horrible to people. You know, oppressive people because they happen to have their skin colour happens to be a particular tone or shade. It blows my mind. It's just like,
Does it matter really what religion people follow?
no, because all of the religions basically say, be nice to each other. You know, and somehow, whichever religion you choose, you find the side that says, well, I'm allowed to abuse that person. Yeah, be nice to each other except them, because them, you know. So, we can't blame the religions. It's not the religion's fault.
It's people's fault.
It's people's fault, yeah. Of course it's people. You know, they choose what suits them, you know. They choose which aspect of it that suits their purpose. So your belief system is not the problem. It's your connection to it.
Within one of our projects called the Universal Grain, we studied a lot of teachings and all sacred books of all religions, and we found out that they are all united by one single grain, that God is love, God is spirit, and all people are the same. There is no difference between us.
Here. I agree completely. Fundamentally, we're all the same. You know, in my traveling, and I've lived in quite a few countries, I see the people are exactly the same, but we express it differently. My children are small, and I spend quite a bit of time in playgrounds watching children playing, and now because our society has opened up, we have a multicultural society. When I was a child, this country was, everybody looked this colour. I won't say white because my children say, well, we're not white and they're not black. You know, well, they're brown and, well, we're not white. We're not white. But you see children in playgrounds, they just play with each other. They don't care. I mean, they absolutely do not care how somebody looks. It's not at all an issue. You know, it's not that it's an issue and then they decide not to care. It's just not an issue. It's somebody to play with. You know, let's play. They want to play. And they play. You know. And then that gets lost. But the children just don't care.
Another phrase of Jesus is be as a child.
Be as a child, yeah, and Jesus and Buddha and Krishna, and they just figured it out. Like, they figured it out. But when the message gets handed down, you hear people saying, well, I think what he meant by that was da-da-da-da-da. You know what somebody meant, like, even though the words were, you know, very clear and very, you know, you think that you know what he meant? Wow, fair play to you. And we are the victims of those people who say, well, what he actually meant was, and they're the religious leaders, you know, and go back to read Krishna, read Buddha, read Christ. You know, Jesus only, just so little of his teaching, so little, like, you know, a few months of his journey, that's all we know about. And there's all this like literature, books upon saints and scholars and this and that, and like, read the thing, be as a child. And his last thing with at the Last Supper, and he got down and he washed everybody's feet. He washed their feet, like they're walking around in sandals in the desert. Filthy, they'd be filthy, their feet. And he washed their feet at a meal and he dried them, and he said, I give you a new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. That was his very, very last public teaching. Like, what's the problem? How can Christians have any other thought than the teacher, his last teaching, love one another, wash each other's dirty feet, get on your knees and wash somebody's feet.
And not kiss my hand.
Yeah, not kiss my hand. I look, I have dirty robes, I have nothing, I don't even have a home, and I'll wash your feet. Love one another as I have loved you. And they've turned it into the Vatican, you know? Anyway.
No comments.
Well, that's a comment. You know, that's a comment, and it's not just Christianity. They're all the same, like, you know. But I grew up in the Christian faith, in a Christian faith. So that's my insight. You know, it's a no-brainer. Love one another as I have loved you. He hung out with prostitutes and thieves and didn't judge them. You know.
And when you read such a simple truth, it resonates with you, and you know exactly the meaning of it. But then you shift your responsibility to somebody else.
But then some guy stands up on the, big powerful in all his colours and all his power and his big building, and he says, but what he actually meant was, love your white neighbours as yourself. You know, wash clean feet. You know, kiss my ring. You know, I'm important. Like.
But why do people believe? Why?
It's poured into us.
Why don't they trust their own feelings, but to somebody who explain them?
Well, why don't you believe your feelings? Be a bumblebee. Try and make your own mind up. You know, look at things. People give an opinion. It's an opinion, but you gotta find your own answers.
As one person said, there are no questions without answers.
Yeah. There was a great song, and I can't remember who sang it, and he said, there are more questions than answers. And the more I find out, the less I know. The more I find out, the less I know.
What do you think, how important is it today to raise such themes as humanity, morality, kindness, unity among the people, which is what ALLATRA participants do?
I think it's a beautiful sentiment and a beautiful thought, and I hope he win, like, you know, I hope ALLATRA takes over the world and doesn't lose its sense of purpose and its compassion and its sense of humanity. You know, it's make the world a better place. It's so divided, it's so polarized. Everything you can do, you know, water the flowers, like you're watering the flowers, so keep on watering the flowers and spread the word, and hopefully people will pick it up and the place will be better.
What would you like to wish to all the viewers of ALLATRA TV?
Well, I think the bumblebee is the thing, isn't it? Be a bumblebee. Just be a bumblebee. Don't mind them, don't listen to them, do what you want to do. But be nice, like, you know. Bumblebee is on a good mission all the time, isn't it? Doesn't do any harm, makes the world a better place. Be nice, you know. Love your neighbour as yourself. It's a good one, isn't it?
It's the best one.
Isn't it? Love your neighbour as yourself and be a bumblebee.
I can run, I can walk, I can sing and I can talk. I can fly like a bird, 'cause I'm free.